Tang Ruan, with a bright and beautiful appearance, is the ceiling of beauty in the entertainment industry. However, she faces the crisis of being replaced due to her failure in romantic dramas. She rented an online boyfriend for this and had an immersive experience. After filming, she threw a 5-star review and ran away. Shen Yu, the untouched flower of the Gaoling Mountains in Jiangda, accidentally obtained an online dating girlfriend 233 due to her help in representing her brother's online boyfriend class. A few months later, Shen Yu thought of appearing, but received a 5-star review. Shen Yu clenched his phone, lifted his eyes and lips, sneered. Great, he was not only treated as a cowherd, but also dumped. After that day, Jiangda's Gaoling flower became even more inhumane. Brother can't bear to watch. Isn't it just being played with? Where is the end of the world without fragrant grass? Why fall in love with a single flower? Looking at the new news on the phone with a gloomy expression. Brother, I want to rent you for a while longer, okay? It's the kind of meeting. Shen Yu looked up at his brother and sneered, single love flower. He wanted to fold the flower. White-skinned and beautiful celebrity versus Gaoling Mountains male college student, fake/black-bellied and poor-dressed, real, Tang Ruan x Shen Yu, 1v1 Shuangjie, keywords of the novel. After I dumped my online boyfriend, I was kissed and cried without a pop-up window. After I dumped my online boyfriend, I was kissed and cried. Download the full text. After I dumped my online boyfriend, I was kissed and cried. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Online Love Girlfriend. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1. Online Love Girlfriend. The set was extremely quiet, only the sound of machines working. A few minutes later. Card. The director held the walkie-talkie and spoke loudly. As the sound fell, the scene suddenly came to life, pulled out of silence and restored to liveliness. The staff began to tidy up the machines, and the makeup artist began to touch up the other actors, busy with various noisy sounds. There stood a woman in the middle, beautiful and unrestrained, with a magnificent appearance and flowing eyes. Her fair skin showed a hint of crimson due to the sunlight, and due to the heat, there was still a thin layer of fragrant sweat in her temples. Her lips were lightly rolled up. Xiao Tang, let's take a look. The last scene was shot perfectly, and I didn't disappoint my expectations of you. The director in front of the monitor waved at her and called up the replay of the previous scene. The last scene was a heavy emotional one, and at the beginning, the director thought Tang Ruan couldn't handle it. He was already prepared to shoot it multiple times, but Tang Ruan's performance surprised him. Who could believe that someone with such a strong emotional scene could not even capture the feeling of a simple teenage nostalgia a few months ago? This progress is not just a drop in the bucket. Fortunately, he didn't listen to others at the time, otherwise he would have really missed out on the best candidate for this role. However, Tang Ruan is not as bad as others say. She has a good personality, acting skills are also good, and her appearance is not to be underestimated. After a few years in the industry, even if she doesn't have any works, how can she still be criticized for being useless? But on second thought, there were only a few things going on in this circle, and it was probably manipulated. He couldn't even control it as a director, so I hope this play can help her a little. On one side, Tang Ruan slightly bent down, her eyes fixed on the monitor in front of her. It was her last scene, and from beginning to end, her emotions were well controlled. She slightly curled her lower lip. Sure enough, buying an online boyfriend is quite useful. The money is not in vain. Although it may be a bit expensive, there are also benefits to being expensive. At least the experience is quite good. I'll give him a 5-star review tonight when I go back. The director taught them well. Tang Ruan smiled brightly. Although he knew these were all polite words, it sounded comforting, and the director smiled heartily a few times. Okay, Xiao Tang, your play has been completed. We have organized a final banquet for you tonight. It's a good opportunity for everyone else to take a day off. Tang Ruan smiled and agreed. Speaking of which, this is the first time she has taken on the lead role in the past 2 years, and it's rare that she hasn't been sensationalized. It's also great to celebrate. The crew was not stingy either, waved their hands and directly booked the best private room. Inside the private room, the sound was noisy, and I didn't know who was a bit drunk. I was crying and howling with a microphone, and there were many wine bottles scattered on the table. The director also drank a bit too much, and when he stood up, he shook a bit, holding a glass in his hand and saying, "Tonight, thanks to Tang Ruan's blessings, everyone should relax well, eat and drink openly, and I will pay." Everyone suddenly cheered. The director is grand. Let's celebrate the murder of our female lead Tang Ruan, and wish our drama a long and successful viewing. The director raised his glass in his hand. Watch Changhong. Watching Changhong. One by one, the sound was so loud that even the next door could hear it. In the adjacent private room, Jiang Xiaoping listened to the sound and clicked twice before saying to the person playing with his phone next to him, "Brother Yu, listen to this battle." The adjacent private room is a crew. I just don't know which crew it is. I was a bit curious. After all, it's quite rare to encounter such things with the crew. The boy next to him lazily nestled in the sofa, playing with his phone. The light from the phone screen shone on his face, imprinting his superior facial features. The boy's hair is very short, probably because the owner casually grabbed it a few times, appearing a bit messy. His eyebrows and eyes are deep, with sharp edges, and the light-colored lips are slightly downward, highlighting the owner's irritability. The collar of the clothes opened at some point, but he didn't notice, revealing his collarbone. Coupled with his undeniable face, the girl's gaze in the private room almost fell on him, while the person involved didn't pay any attention. With his eyes drooping and his slender fingers brushing back and forth on the phone screen, he didn't even lift his head when he heard Jiang Xiaoping's words. He spoke coldly, "If you're curious, you can go and take a look." Jiang Xiaoping. That's not necessary either. Glancing at Shen Yu, Jiang Xiaoping saw him holding his phone and playing absent-mindedly. He leaned over and said, "Why are you staring at your phone all night?" Seeing him cut off his phone from the WeChat page, he was scrolling through videos without a trace. Jiang Xiaoping. What's good about watching videos? I saw you were waiting for a message on the WeChat page just now. Shen Yu turned off his phone and lifted his eyes to give him a cool look. Jiang Xiaoping. No, really waiting for news. Somehow, an idea suddenly rushed into his mind. You're not waiting for news from Sherwan, are you? No, Shen Yu replied coldly. Jiang Xiaoping only realized that he didn't know when he had said that sentence just now. But when it comes to this topic, he can't resist his gossip. By the way, what exactly does Xiao look like? Do you have any photos? How could she even take you off? Every time Jiang Xiaoping thinks of this, he feels a bit unbelievable. You know, Shen Yu has a top-notch face, and his popularity at school can be imagined. I don't know how many girls are blocking his way of confessing, but no one has taken it down. Who would have thought that it was recently taken down by an online girlfriend? Although it is undeniable that Xiao's voice is very pleasant and he is also quite cute. They have played games together before, but he still has an incredible feeling. After confirming that there was no news, Shen Yu turned off his phone and lifted his eyes to give a faint glance at Jiang Xiaoping. Curious. Jiang Xiaoping nodded and said, "Isn't that so? This person is actually in an online relationship. Who believes it when it comes to it? Can we not be curious?" Looking at Jiang Xiaoping's enthusiastic expression, Shen Yu reached out and patted his shoulder, slowly saying, "If you're curious, just talk to me and give it a try." After speaking, he stood up and walked out of the private room. Jiang Xiaoping. What's good about online dating? He likes things that can be touched. La 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 la, babies, Ning Ning has opened a new book again. It's a different beginning, a different journey. Our female celebrities and male college students, I hope everyone can enjoy it. The old rule is, I'll write it for you to see, accept reasonable opinions. Momoda white-skinned and beautiful celebrity Tang Ruan vs Gaoling Mountains, male college student Shen Yu, fake, young master in Beijing circle, online pretending to be poor, real, about the age of male and female leads are baby Tang Ruan. 23 Guzi Shen Yu. 21 Our Tang Fairy is a bit older, so it's just a sibling relationship. As for the plot, there will be explanations later on. Let's take your time and love you all. PS. There may be some game situations in the early stage, but not many, just to drive the plot. If you don't like it, you can cancel it. As we all know, end of this chapter. Chapter 2. Being dumped by an online girlfriend. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Being dumped by an online girlfriend. Shen Yu went to the bathroom and casually found a place. She leaned against the wall, took out her phone, opened it, and looked at it again. The WeChat page on the phone is quiet and without any movement. Looking at the clean WeChat page, the boy's eyebrows and eyes furrowed slightly, with a hint of dryness in the center of his eyebrows. Usually at this time, the girl's messages are already sent over. Sometimes she asks him what's delicious to eat, sometimes she asks him if he misses her, and sometimes she makes a mischievous voice call to make a surprise attack. If there is something to do at night, I will also send him a message in advance instead of being quiet like today. Thinking about it, I don't know when there was an extra cigarette coming out of my fingertips, sandwiched between my index and middle fingers. The knuckles of my fingers curled slightly, the lighter made a crisp sound, and the cigarette but lit up with scattered flames. Tang Ruan walked out of the private room and saw such a scene, where the boy's face was exposed in the light of the lighter, faintly visible. Tsk, it looks quite straight. Even though she was used to seeing handsome guys in the entertainment industry, she couldn't help but comment from the bottom of her heart. The person in front saw her slow down and turned to call her, Tang Ruan, why aren't you leaving? What are you looking at? Tang Ruan withdrew his gaze lightly upon hearing the words and whispered, it's nothing, then quickened his pace and said, let's go. When Shen Yu lifted his head upon hearing this, he only saw several figures, one of which was particularly slender, and the group quickly disappeared from sight. After a little thought, it was clear that that group of people was probably the crew from the adjacent private room. After all, no one else came out from that direction. If Jiang Xiaoping had seen it, he might have gossiped about it, but he had no interest in any particular crew. Looking up, I just felt that my voice was a bit familiar, as if I had heard it somewhere before, but I didn't think much about it. However, after such an episode, he didn't have much interest in staying any longer. After taking 2 puffs of smoke, he extinguished it and threw it into the trash can. Turning around, he returned to the private room and picked up his jacket that he had thrown aside. He lowered his eyes and said to Jiang Xiaoping next to him, you play, I'll leave first. Jiang Xiaoping was still holding a microphone when he was about to showcase his singing voice when he heard this sentence. He was stunned for a moment and said, you're leaving. Let's play a little longer. He looked up at the time and said, isn't it still early? It's only 10 o'clock. The dormitory needs access control. Jiang Xiaoping waved his hand indifferently and said, it's just access control. Brother Yu, when have you ever cared about this thing? If it's okay, you can open a room outside and go back tomorrow. Anyway, there's no class tomorrow morning. Shen Yu remained silent and moved his fingertips while pinching his phone. Jiang Xiaoping was about to continue persuading when his gaze shifted downwards. When he saw his phone, his mind suddenly became clear and he understood. My face instantly wore a look that I understood. Oh, I understand, I understand. Brother Yu, please go back quickly and have a pleasant conversation. His smile looked a bit cheap. Shen Yu glanced at him without refuting, said to drink less and then left. After Shen Yu left, Jiang Xiaoping was instantly surrounded by the girls who secretly observed Shen Yu. How did Senior Shen leave? Is there anything wrong? You are roommates, you must know him well. What kind of girl does Shen Yu like? I don't know if it's convenient, please add a contact information for Senior Shen. Jiang Xiaoping. I can at least be called a handsome guy myself. Why is it always because of Shen Yu that I am surrounded by beautiful girls? He's also very charming, okay. Looking at these eager girls, Jiang Xiaoping shrugged his shoulders and pointed to someone who had just left. He slowly said, don't think about it, you don't have a chance. That one, the famous flower, has a master. Shen Yu returned to the dormitory and casually threw his clothes on the bed, opened the computer on the table, and logged into the game he usually played. I glanced at the avatars on the list, but they didn't appear in the game. What are you doing? Just as I was thinking about it, I had already clicked on the WeChat page, and my well-defined fingers began to tap and tap inside the chat box. What are you doing? After typing, I stared at these words for 2 seconds and then deleted them one by one. This won't work. Retype. Are you playing games today? Looking at these words, Shen Yu frowned and pressed the delete button again. After repeatedly typing several times, deleting and deleting, for more than 10 minutes, not a single message was sent out. In the end, he simply threw his phone on the table, turned around, and entered the bathroom. The sound of water flowing slowly echoed, while the 4 words lying quietly in the desktop phone dialog box remained silent. Shen Yu. Did you sleep? Shen Yu was always thinking about things while taking a shower, so she took a quick shower. As he walked out, he casually wiped his wet hair with a towel, and as soon as he took 2 steps, he heard the sound of a message. The boy's wiping of his hair paused for a moment, and a slight smile appeared at the corner of his beautiful eyes, accelerating his steps. Pick up your phone and open it. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. The upward corners of the boy's mouth gradually relaxed, and the knuckles holding the phone turned a bit pale due to the force. After some time, the quiet space was broken by a sneer. Shen Yu looked at the news on his phone and was once again smirked with anger. Tang Ruan. Little brother, thank you for your service over this period of time. The feeling of love is very good. I will definitely give you 5-star praise and push you to my sisters so that they can patronize your business more often. There was even a cute expression behind it. The next second, Shen Yu threw his phone onto the table with such force that he wished he could smash it. Very good, dare you, he has been treated like a cowherd by someone. After Tang Ruan finished sending the message, he held his phone and stared at it. After 3, 5, and 10 minutes, there was no reply on WeChat. Lying on the sofa casually, like a soft cat, my head feeling a bit dizzy after drinking, and my fingers lightly poking at the screen like jade. It's been so long, you should have seen it, right? Don't you even reply to a message? At least she has spent tens of thousands of dollars on him in the past few months. According to the script's character design, she speaks quite cutely, but this person hasn't even said goodbye, which is really heartless. Sigh. Although he didn't receive a reply, Tang Ruan still opened the website and gave a solid 5-star review. He even wrote a lengthy review of several hundred words in return. Our poor depression, just got a girlfriend, Bushi, was dumped by the speed of light, End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Small advertisements on doors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Small advertisements on doors. It's just a momentary impulse for Tang Ruan to buy an online boyfriend. Time needs to go back a few months ago. That day, the weather was not very good, and the sky was drizzling with rain. Tang Ruan returned from the crew wearing a hoodie and a mask that covered most of her face, with only a pair of beautiful eyes exposed. Nevertheless, the owner's good figure could be seen from her figure. She walked quickly with one hand holding an umbrella, afraid of getting wet from the rain, while holding her phone in the other hand and talking to her best friend on the phone. What methods do you think can quickly improve your love experience? Tang Ruan asked with emotion. The kind of quick fix method. It would be even better to have a crash course in love. Yi Qianqian said indifferently, it's easy, just find a boyfriend. She answered while eating, it's better to be a scumbag, you know, the kind of scumbag who is good at everything except not loving you. He has perfect flirting skills and knows all the tricks to keep your experience going. However, the male protagonist in your play doesn't seem to have much to do with scumbags. Why don't you find someone who disdains integrity and comes with the idea of being self-taught? You can just dress up according to the character design in the script. Upon hearing this, Tang Ruan looked speechless. Truly worthy of being his best friend, this idea is really bad. There is no possibility of implementation. Leaving aside the consequences of finding a boyfriend as someone who lives under the camera and can be easily hacked and searched for, she alone is not willing to suffer for a drama. Tang Ruan said, forget it, it's no use telling you. I got home and hung up. After finishing speaking, he hung up the phone and entered the building door. As she went upstairs, she was thinking about what was happening on the set today, her eyes drooping, obscuring her expression. Today is the day for the production team to discuss the script, and there is still some time before the filming of this play officially begins. It's rare for someone to make small moves behind the scenes in this play, and it was successfully won. The script was also quite good, otherwise she wouldn't have put in so much effort. However, during the audition, she did not try a romantic scene, so she successfully took it down. Because the entire story revolves around the growth history of a girl, from her early innocence and cuteness to her decisive actions in the later stages. At that time, most of her attention was focused on the overall structure of the story, and she didn't pay much attention to the emotional scenes inside. I didn't expect to stumble on this. Thinking of the director's words at the time, Tang Ruan, although there aren't many emotional scenes in the drama, it doesn't mean it's not important. There is still some time before we leave filming. During this time, you can go back and find the feeling of love. I hope you won't disappoint us. If you're still in this state, I think we'll probably reconsider whether you're suitable for this drama, the director said coldly, holding the script. The meaning in the words can't be more obvious. If it doesn't work, he doesn't mind changing the lead role. If someone had said that normally, Tang Ruan would have abandoned the task long ago. However, this time it was indeed her own problem. She lowered her eyes and calmly accepted, okay, I understand. Thank you, director. She knew her weakness in acting was in emotional scenes. This had happened before, and although it seemed like there was nothing wrong, the feeling she came out with was not quite right. However, with so little time, where did she find the feeling of love? In my dream. As soon as Tang Ruan arrived at the door, he was about to open it. As soon as he looked up, he saw a piece of paper pasted on his door, which seemed to be a small advertisement. Tang Ruan looked at the small note and was momentarily stunned. What is this? Recalling some of the messy news she usually reads, she wouldn't be the kind of person who was trampled on and committed murder. After thinking about it, I made myself laugh. I really watched too many TV dramas. Then the hand preparing to open the door turned the direction and gently tore off the small advertisement on the door, glancing up. Love app, do you want to experience the feeling of love? Do you want a caring boyfriend? Come and love. Love app, wolf style, milk style, pure and lustful style, all kinds of touching online boyfriends are available for you to choose from website. www.ttae probably to catch people's attention, there are even a few photos of boys on it, not to mention, they are all quite handsome and have their own characteristics. However, after reading the content on the paper, Tang Ruan said, "What kind of garbage advertisement is this? Does anyone believe this too? Is your head broken?" Fingers curled slightly, rolling the paper into a ball. Just as she was about to throw it away, suddenly an idea flashed through her mind. Tang Ruan stared at the garbage advertisement in her hand and watched it quietly for 2 seconds. Then I opened it again, confirmed it, and after 2 seconds, I folded the crumpled paper and calmly put it into my hoodie pocket. Then, as if nothing had happened, I opened the door and entered. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Online Boyfriend for Substitute Class. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Online Boyfriend for Substitute Class. Jiangda's Male Dormitory. Shen Yu, big brother, please. I really have something to do during this time. Can you help me take on half a month's shift? Jiang Xiaoping sat next to Shen Yu, rubbing his teeth. Shen Yu stood up from the chair with an indifferent expression and went to the bathroom. The people behind him were like a tail, not leaving a single step. Brother Yu, 10 days, is 10 days okay? At the entrance of the bathroom, Shen Yu's footsteps stopped and he turned around with a faint glance at Jiang Xiaoping. Jiang Xiaoping immediately brake at the sight of the situation and said, "Do you agree?" Shen Yu said, "I just wanted to ask you." Jiang Xiaoping looked bewildered and said, "What? When did you have a habit of watching others go to the bathroom?" After speaking, before Jiang Xiaoping could react, the bathroom door closed in front of him. Jiang Xiaoping. God TM has this special hobby. The other two roommates saw this and joked at him with a smile, "Why don't you come and beg my brother? Maybe my brother will agree. You don't listen to your loud voice, who's trying to scare me to death. I want to come to you, it's not just a matter of getting sued for scoring minutes." So, is he still making money? So when Shen Yu came out of the bathroom, Jiang Xiaoping went to pester him again. "Brother, help me out. 1 week, just 1 week. If you agree, your next week's meal will be covered by brother, and socks will be covered. If you don't agree, so, we can only use our trump card." Jiang Xiaoping chuckled maliciously and said, "I'll take your WeChat account and sell it." After a pause, he continued, "The price should be quite good." Shen Yu. Send me the account password. Jiang Xiaoping said, "Alright, thank you Dad." He solved a serious problem and shouted, "Dog leg." After quickly sending things over and solving a major problem, he walked away with ease. At night, Jiang Xiaoping was afraid that Shen Yu would forget, so he sent more than 10 messages in a row to remind him. Finally, with a voice message, he sold out miserably. "Brother Yu, don't forget, I only survived with this little money." Shen Yu was so annoyed that he couldn't bear it anymore. With a pale face, he said, "Alright, I got it. It's hypnotizing." Then the computer closed and I logged into the account of the dating app that Jiang Xiaoping mentioned using my phone. Just as I logged in, a message popped up on my phone page. "Didi, you have a new order, please check it." Shen Yu. Excuse me. A pair of pretty eyebrows are almost twisted into a rope. Tang Ruan sat cross-legged on the sofa, holding a pillow in her arms, her fair fingers pinching her phone and poking dots on the screen. This can't really be a deceptive garbage advertisement, can it? Why hasn't there been any movement? What about her online boyfriend? I went back and asked customer service again, "Are you sure you have arranged for someone to take the order? Why hasn't there been any movement after all this time?" Just as I finished posting, a reply popped up. Automatic reply. "We have received your order and have arranged the boyfriend you want. Our online boyfriend is currently taking the order, please wait a moment." Tang Ruan. 10 seconds later, the manual customer service went online. Customer service. "Kiss, we have understood your situation and just checked. We have arranged for you to have the boyfriend you want. A high cold and difficult to get along with, a lack of integrity in speech and body, and an immersive experience in love without a teacher. Kiss, don't worry. We have already urged you on our end. As you have purchased the most expensive service from our store, this person will only accept your order during this period. Wishing you a pleasant experience." Less than 5 seconds after the last message was sent, a message popped up on WeChat. Tang Ruan paused for a moment and switched back to WeChat, where he saw an additional friend application. SY added you as a friend. My online boyfriend has been delivered, please check it carefully. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. What services are needed? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. What services are needed? SY. What services are needed? Tang Ruan just clicked on pass, and a message quickly popped up in the dialog box, without even a punctuation mark. It was concise and even had a hint of coldness. Undoubtedly, it is a high cold and difficult to handle type. Is there any service available? Tang Ruan leaned against the bed, tapping his phone slowly and steadily. Sitting in front of the table, Shen Yu lazily leaned back as he watched the message popping up on his phone page. He remembered that the back-end message he had just read was a request from customer service. A dense and long string, what needs to be high and cold is difficult to handle, the mouth feels upright, and the body is self-taught. These are all things, and they have been specially added later. The experience must be good, and there must be no feeling of acting. If you scroll down, there may be something else, and if you're too lazy to watch, you'll just shut it down. TSK. There are so many demands. He tried his best to put on a disguise, but if it weren't like that, the complainant was Jiang Xiaoping, what was it to him? SY. Of course, as long as the money is in place. SY. This includes but is not limited to legitimate services. Tang Ruan looked at the two latest replies and gave a sharp fingertip. What is meant to include but not limited to legitimate services? Is it okay for someone who is not serious? Are current online boyfriends playing so wild? Although she thought so in her heart, she still remembers her early-stage soft girl persona, which should perfectly meet the shooting requirements. I roughly searched in my mind for the speeches of the girls and online dating partners she had met before, pretending to be cute and cute. She should be able to do that, right? Does this mean that you can come to your door, eat with us, and have a chat, followed by a rather obedient emoji before sending? Tang Ruan carefully glanced at the words he had typed, thought for 2 seconds, and silently added 2 words at the beginning. Alright, perfect. Shen Yu looked at the message sent by his dear client and Tang Xiao said, Brother, does this mean that you can come to your door, eat with us, and have a chat? Shen Yu stared at the line of words above for several seconds and sneered, is this what she understood as unprofessional service? It's okay to chat, but it's not possible to come to our door. Our boss said that when necessary, we can refuse some customers' unreasonable requests. He is not selfless enough to sacrifice himself for Jiang Xiaoping. Tang Ruan. Unreasonable demands. For example, brother, what's your name? I hope it sounds better, brother, do you have any photos? It's best to take a picture of your abdominal muscles, brother, do you have a nice voice? Can I listen to it? It's best to have someone's ears pregnant. Tang Ruan quickly tapped several messages with his fingers. At first, he felt a bit uneasy when he hit his brother, but after the first shout, he realized it wasn't that difficult. I hope this person's appearance and voice meet her requirements, after all, she has spent so much money. Shen Yu looked at a series of older brothers and frowned slightly, but did not refute her call, after all, who makes them the boss? Tang Ruan was waiting for news while playing on his phone, and this time he received a voice message directly. What do you want to hear? The voice of a boy falls between that of a teenager and that of a mature person, with his unique charm. Although his tone is light and he doesn't have much emotion, when it falls in his ear, it makes people want to listen to it a few more times. In fact, Tang Ruan did the same. When she finished playing the 3rd time, Tang Ruan was stunned for a moment, her eyes drifting down, and her fingers were still resting on the voice message. After reacting, I coughed unnaturally twice. How about singing a song? SY. Do you want to listen to Drunk Butterfly or Euphoric? Tang Ruan looked at the reply message. Suddenly, she didn't want to hear it so much. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Probably because of being handsome. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Probably because of being handsome. Tang Ruan still didn't let him sing in the end. After all, the 2 songs he ordered were very festive. The 2 of them chatted haphazardly, and Tang Ruan roughly understood the online boyfriend he had chosen. His surname was Shen, a college student, and he should be quite handsome. Anyway, his voice was quite pleasant. Tang Ruan also just realized that he was still a voice controller. "Brother, are you going to sleep now?" Shen Yu was brushing his teeth as his phone was casually placed on the wash basin. He glanced at it when he heard it ring. "I didn't plan to deal with it. It's too annoying." If he knew this thing was so troublesome, he shouldn't have agreed to Jiang Xiaoping at that time. 2 seconds later, Tang Ruan received a reply. "SY. Good night, brother. Wishing you a good dream, Momota." After sending the message, Tang Ruan shook twice and was disgusted by himself. Shen Yu glanced and didn't return. "Good night," ending today's conversation topic. However, Tang Ruan had no intention of going to bed now. He got out of bed, picked up a computer, and lay on the bed, looking for idle dramas to watch. Of course, we can't rely all our hopes on our online boyfriend. Although we haven't been in a relationship, who hasn't seen Pig Run yet? Take a closer look, maybe you can get some insights. So Tang Ruan lay in bed and watched videos for 4 or 5 hours, not only TV dramas, but also short videos, novels, and even radio dramas. She had a headache watching them, and dating was really troublesome. In the end, she didn't even know when she would fall asleep. The next day, the campus of Jiangda was unusually lively. Today was their anniversary, so people were everywhere early in the morning, coming and going to decorate it. I heard that there was still a performance in the small theater in the afternoon. Shen Yu didn't pay much attention to these things. He was pulled by the dormitory to play a few more games last night, slept a bit late, woke up after the alarm rang several times in the morning, and didn't have time to eat breakfast. When he entered the classroom, he was all groggy. He sat down in any position in the last row, bent over with his long legs, and leaned down to catch up on his sleep. Perhaps due to the school anniversary, as it was almost time for class to end, the classroom began to hear rustling sounds, and the people next to them were whispering. "Did you hear that this school anniversary was a big investment, and it seems like someone was specially invited to perform? The centennial anniversary of the school is also a bit grand, and besides, our school is not short of this amount of money. Indeed, it's not bad. As one of the top universities in China, I don't know how many people are investing in it. The campus environment is one of the best in China. I also invited many former alumni this time, who are now top-notch in various industries. We were lucky enough to catch up when we were in school. Maybe we could have a few more conversations, and if we were lucky enough, we could have established a relationship. Otherwise, we wouldn't have seen so many top people in our lifetime." The person couldn't help but sigh. "Do you know who these people are?" the person next to me asked curiously. "Usually, rumors like this come out through the grapevine. I heard that several leading companies in this city will come here." The voice continued, with the main idea being whether it is possible to meet some people during this school anniversary and add some convenience to future job hunting. Although Shen Yu was asleep, the people next to him were too noisy. After they finished speaking, Shen Yu raised his head with visible annoyance in his eyebrows and eyes. I pinched my phone and glanced at the time. There were still a few minutes before class, and I couldn't sleep anymore. The teacher on stage was talking about the development history of some companies, which was quite boring. Simply lean back in the chair and open your phone to pass the time. There was nothing particularly I wanted to see, so I casually slid on, and when I clicked into WeChat, I saw several messages inside. He glanced at a few messages and ignored them directly. Later, some of his friends sent them, and he casually replied to a few. Qin Zichuan said, Brother Yu, thank you for the money. I will repay you as soon as possible. Okay, I got it. After finishing, I cut over and before sliding, I saw a portrait with several red dots next to it. He was stunned for a few seconds before he realized that the gold lord he had added yesterday click on. Tang Xiaoro. Good morning, brother asterisk smiley face asterisk half an hour has passed since the next time. Has brother not woken up yet? After another half hour, a photo was sent over. It was taken for breakfast, a small congee, and a tea egg. The congee looks very good, and it is easy to arouse people's appetite. Shen Yu, who had not eaten breakfast, felt a bit hungry now. Adhering to the consciousness of her online boyfriend, Shen Yu replied to her message, I'm busy, I didn't see any news. After waiting for a moment, there was no response from there, so Shen Yu returned to continue looking at other things. Quickly, class was over, and outside the classroom, there was soon a commotion. The crowd was crowded and Shen Yu took his book and followed him outside. As soon as I left the teaching building, I saw my roommate and said, Brother Yu, here. Shen Yu walked towards them and said, Why are you here? He and the two of them are not in the same major, and they don't come into contact during regular classes. Su Xingsong threw his bag back and said with a speechless expression, It's not Jiang Xiaoping yet. Why don't you say he's not here? Brother Yu is alone and has no one to accompany him. He must let us come and find you. Usually, when Jiang Xiaoping is here, it's usually with them. Shen Yu gave them an expressionless glance and said, Let's talk about it. Don't mess around. Jiang Qian smiled and said, There's nothing wrong. It's just that Jiang Xiaoping doesn't trust you, afraid that your temper will ruin his job. Well, let's come and take a look. As the group walked and spoke, Shen Yu was smirked and said, He's not confident in letting him come by himself. Jiang Qian said, How could that be? You don't even know Jiang Xiaoping, he chatters all day long. There was no class in the second class. They were originally going to prepare something to eat, but on the way, they ran into a counselor and said they needed help, so they were called away. Tang Ruan sat in the car, drowsy and yawning. He had been looking at those things for too long last night, and got up early today. After a lot of trouble, he was really tired now. Last night, I saw that it was late at night. Although it was troublesome, there was still something to be gained. So, when she came together, she sent a message to her online boyfriend. Good morning, check in all at once. I believe that in no time, she will be able to fully integrate that series of love skills. The agent was talking to her about the afternoon event next to her. Today is the centenary celebration of Jiangda University, and there are quite a few people invited. Besides you, there are two other celebrities, and Lin Jiqiao is also here. You should keep your temper when the time comes, okay? Tang Ruan has been in the entertainment industry for the past 2 years, although he may not be considered popular, he is not a slacker, after all, Yen is there. It's just that it's easy to get on a trending black search. And this Lin Jiqiao is similar to her, but not as easily targeted as Tang Ruan. I don't know why, but Lin Jiqiao couldn't stand Tang Ruan. When they met, they always had to stab each other a few times. Tang Ruan admired his newly made shiny nail art and said nonchalantly, What can we argue about? Being so easily angry can lead to aging. There is still some time until the afternoon, and Tang Ruan continues to watch the video he didn't finish watching yesterday with his phone. By the way, I glanced at WeChat and saw the news of her online boyfriend returning at a glance. Tang Ruan. It's okay, brother. After you finish your work, I'll be the same. Brother, it's noon. What did you eat? Agent Song Qingjiu watched Tang Ruan's fingers typing rapidly next to her, and his gaze fell from her face to her phone. The words on the screen were placed in front of her, and Song Qingjiu's face stiffened fiercely. When did Tang Ruan, this young ancestor, speak in such a tone and call him brother? Tang Ruan. Are you in love? When asked, Song Qingjiu had already thought of 8 or 9 words in her mind about how to persuade her to break up. Unexpectedly, Tang Ruan looked up at her with a puzzled expression and said, "Are you in love?" Song Qingjiu pointed to her phone screen. Tang Ruan let out a sigh, picked up her phone, shook it, and casually said, "You said this, I ordered an online boyfriend. The director said I couldn't do romantic scenes, so I ordered an online boyfriend to find my feelings." Song Qingjiu suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it wasn't about dating. If someone were to be exposed for dating, they wouldn't know what kind of blackmail they would be in again. After Tang Ruan quickly sent a few messages to Shen Yu with his phone, he continued to study idol dramas. At 2 p.m., the school anniversary had already begun in the auditorium. The first row below the stage is filled with invited alumni and school leaders. Shen Yu sat in his seat, completely uninterested in such an activity, just pulled in to make up for it, with 2 speeches placed next to him. The leader on stage was speaking, his body casually leaning against the back of the chair, in a lazy posture, chatting with his client with his phone. "How do you usually make girls happy?" "SY. I don't know, I haven't coaxed before." Not to mention coaxing girls, Shen Yu probably hasn't even tried to coax anyone. Tang Ruan. Why can this person say it so naturally? Have you never coaxed someone who can justify your profession? How could I not have been coaxed? It's not my first time doing this. Brother, teach me how to coax boys in the future. Before Tang Ruan could finish typing, a message was sent from across the street. SY. First time, Tang Ruan's movements were taken aback, his eyes staring incredulously at his phone. For the first time. How dare the store bid such a high price for the first time? At this moment, the host on stage read Shen Yu's name and said, "Now let's invite our student representative Shen Yu to speak on stage." Upon hearing this, Shen Yu casually replied to the message sent from the opposite side, turned off his phone, picked up his speech, and walked onto the stage. And Tang Ruan, who was in the background, looked at the message and blinked his eyes slowly after a long time. Is it so expensive for my brother's first time? SY. Probably because he's handsome. Tang Ruan. The first 10,000 words have been delivered, babies. Vote for it and leave the comments. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Only accepting your orders. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Only accepting your orders. The centenary celebration of Jiangda is attended by prominent figures, with the first row of people looking over, those who can be called famous, and those sitting nearby occasionally saying a few words. Shen Yu stood there holding the manuscript. The boy was tall and straight, with wide shoulders, narrow waist, and long legs. Even wearing a regular T-shirt could easily attract the attention of others. Her side face is as clear as a flower, and her hair is slightly messy. She is known as the flower of the high mountains in school, but her whole body gives off a charming and frivolous feeling. He is said to be the flower of the mountain simply because he truly fell for the saying. Through the myriad of flowers, leaves do not touch the body, countless girls do not give up and strive upwards, but none have succeeded. Shen Yu stood on the stage with an impatient expression on his face, reading the manuscript without any emotion. However, it was probably because the boy's voice was pleasant, and there was no perfunctory feeling. Shen Yu finished reciting the last word, said thank you, and then quickly stepped down. Tang Ruan, who was backstage, only saw his back. She sat in a chair on the side, with long hair slightly curled up and clothes on her shoulders that seemed to be unable to fall off, revealing the woman's round and fair shoulders. Tang Ruan reached out and pulled his clothes up, then turned around and stared at his phone again, murmuring softly in a low tone, "The voice of the male college student is quite pleasant, just a bit familiar." But she didn't think much about it. There were already people speaking on the front stage, as if introducing the history of Jiangda. Tang Ruan perked up his ears for a few words and felt bored before starting his own business. Since then, her online boyfriend has posted a sentence. Probably because he looks handsome, there has been no news since then. I don't know if it's because he's busy, Tang Ruan thought to himself. When should he send a photo to see how handsome he really is? Tang Ruan listened to the commotion ahead while playing on her phone, speaking one after another endlessly. She felt a bit bored listening. Go harass her online boyfriend. Brother, what are you doing? I'm so bored, you can talk to me with me. After Shen Yu finished speaking, he didn't want to continue staying in the auditorium. He turned around and walked through the back door. As soon as he left, his phone in his pocket shook twice. He took it out and glanced at it, but the impatient expression between his eyebrows had not disappeared yet. What are you talking about? He knocked as he walked. Tang Ruan. How did she know that this shouldn't be the basic professional competence for chatting with others? Why did she ask her in reverse? Brother, you can't talk like that. If Miss doesn't order you anymore, you won't have any business. SY. Then I won't order it. If you don't order, how can you receive the order? If you don't order, you won't have money. You can't just accept me. Alas, if she hadn't paid half of the money in advance, would she really have refunded it and replaced it with a new one? Do you still need her to teach him how to chat? SY. Only pick you up. Shen Yu casually replied, he doesn't really do any online boyfriend service. Just help him pick up this one is enough, isn't that just a way to make himself suffer? Tang Ruan, leaning on the chair, stared at his phone screen for several seconds, with his lips slightly open. Just pick her up. Is that why he is so expensive? If he doesn't make a move, it will make people feel like they are all of him. Tang Ruan said. I have learned. Shen Yu is walking very fast now. He hasn't had anything to eat for a long time, missed breakfast, and was called to the auditorium for lunch. So far, he hasn't eaten a bite, and his stomach is sore from hunger. It's been a long time since I started coding, and now the speed is super slow. It's so slow that I feel uncomfortable myself. Woo-woo, end of this chapter. Chapter 8. Shen Yu without money to eat. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Shen Yu without money to eat. Shen Yu didn't go out to eat, so he walked straight to the cafeteria. The food in the cafeteria of Jiangda University was still good, and there were many delicious dishes, but at this time not many people came to eat at this time, and there were a few scattered people sitting in the cafeteria. Shen Yu ordered the meal and quickly received it. The message from the gold owner on the phone kept ringing non-stop until he finished saying he didn't eat. Ask him why he only ate now, didn't he have breakfast, didn't he have lunch, and why didn't he eat? Balabala said a lot. Tang Ruan was just bored. The person across from her said she didn't eat anything, so she casually asked, asking wherever she thought. Shen Yu didn't want to explain so much, so he simply sent a voiceover and said, no, I'm just busy. Coincidentally, a voice came over with a hint of shock. Brother Yu, why are you eating this? Are you out of money? Qin Zichuan saw this person from a distance resembling Shen Yu, so he lifted his foot and walked over. As soon as he arrived, he saw Shen Yu eating, which was the cheapest kind. Thinking of the money I borrowed from Shen Yu, I suddenly felt guilty and said, Brother Yu, wait for me. I'll go and raise the money and repay you a little first. Brother, because he borrowed money from himself, now his meals are so meager. How can he get by now? Shen Yu frowned and put down his phone. Seeing Qin Zichuan about to open WeChat to borrow money, he interrupted him. Alright, money. Qin Zichuan said, Brother Yu, you don't have to worry about me. I'll give you some first. Qin Zichuan looked at the food in front of Shen Yu's table and couldn't bear it anymore. How could someone with money eat this? Shen Yu said, what time are you looking at now? Qin Zichuan. What time? 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So what can I eat now? Shen Yu glanced at the window. Qin Zichuan said, After 2 seconds, he silently put down his phone, feeling a little embarrassed. At this time, lunchtime has just passed and I haven't started cooking in the afternoon yet. There are only a few dishes to eat and Shen Yu is too lazy to wait, so he just bought some casually. And Tang Ruan over there clicked to open WeChat. A boy's voice came in. No, just busy. At the same time, there was another voice that was very clear, brother, how are you eating this? Are you out of money? That voice was clearly meant for her online boyfriend. Tang Ruan held her phone and pondered deeply. So, is her boyfriend only eating now because he doesn't have money? Suddenly, a series of images came to mind. A handsome boy had been starving because he didn't have enough money to eat, and because of his self-esteem, he told her that he was busy and pitiful. Tang Ruan held his phone and sent a message, asking tentatively, do you have money to eat? After sending it out, there hasn't been a response from her over there for half a day. Isn't it because of embarrassment? I waited for another 2 minutes, but there was still no movement over there. Tang Ruan gently bit his lips, hesitated for a moment, and then clicked on his balance to take a look, which was in 5 digits. Then I returned to the chat page with her boyfriend. That's right, the notes she gave to Shen Yu were the kind of boyfriend with quotation marks. Subsequently, a very large transfer was made. Meal money, you eat first, I'll transfer it to you tomorrow. She has already spent money to buy a boyfriend, so by the way, it's not impossible for him to live a better life by adding a meal or something. It took Shen Yu a while to see the message on his phone and he raised his eyebrows. His benefactor gave him money for his meals. Glancing at the last message. Transfer. 30.00, his gold medalist is so bold. From now on, our depression is a soft eater. Sisters, I despise him _comment, vote, set a small goal, let's move towards the new book list, end of this chapter. Chapter 9. Raising your boyfriend, what you should do. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Raising your boyfriend, what you should do. Dormitory. Shen Yu quietly looked at the huge sum of money on her phone, and after a while, she burst out laughing. I never expected that one day I would be so poor that someone would give me money to eat, which feels quite novel. At this moment, most of us were in the auditorium and there were not many people in the dormitory. Shen Yu leaned against the bed and lazily said, give me the money for my meal. If I don't have enough money to eat during this time, will you keep giving it to me? Tang Ruan looked at the news that had been waiting for a long time before returning, and if it were any later, perhaps she would be on stage. However, keep giving. Tang Ruan's gaze slightly narrowed for a moment, not sure if he remembered something, and then he raised a bright smile. Here it is. It's just a meal, how much can it cost? SY. This is to support me, it's quite difficult for me to support. Tang Xiao said, it's okay, isn't my brother my boyfriend? It's okay to have my own boyfriend. Tang Ruan adhered to a serious and responsible attitude towards entering the drama, speaking confidently. She has watched many idol drama scenes, and sweet words like this are definitely effective. Shen Yu looked at the message and a hint of playfulness flashed in his eyes, saying, okay. Then he collected the huge sum of 30 yuan without any psychological burden. Tang Ruan was playing with his phone when suddenly his arm was touched and he said, what's wrong, Sister Qing? Song Qingjiu lowered his head and leaned in her ear, saying, Lin Jiqiao is coming. Tang Ruan followed her gaze and indeed saw Lin Jiqiao and her assistant walking towards her. After taking a glance, he withdrew his gaze without much interest. Song Qingjiu said, you should keep your temper and not get into conflict with her. As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Jiqiao walked straight towards this side. Before anyone could come to him, his voice arrived first. Tang Ruan, why are you sitting here? There isn't even a room for you to rest in. Oh, yes, it's not necessary for your coffee. A few days ago, I seem to have seen a hot search about you, saying that your acting skills are not up to par. I think the words of those people below are really unpleasant. Tang Ruan sat quietly listening to her finish, then lifted his eyes lightly, saying that beauty lies not in the skin but in the bones. But Tang Ruan was different, as she possessed both. Her eyebrows and eyes were delicate, and when she slowly curled her lips, she was like a woman in the world. Listening to Lin Jiqiao's words, she didn't get angry either. She leaned back in her chair with a lazy posture and spoke calmly, "I didn't even know I had such a hot topic, it's hard for you to keep watching. Oh, by the way, what have you been busy with lately? I haven't heard from you. But it's also possible that I haven't watched the hot search, so I don't know. Sister Qing, is there any hot search for Miss Lin lately?" Tang Ruan looked innocently at Song Qingjiu, as if she was really asking seriously. But who is not a human spirit on sight? If there is no news, that means Lin Jiqiao is confused. "No," said Song Qingjiu with a suppressed smile, "look at how good Miss Lin is. She's not like me, she's on a hot search every few days and still gets scolded." Tang Ruan lowered her head and sighed, but anyone who looked at her expression wouldn't feel that she was regretful for someone else. As is well known, in the entertainment industry, the biggest fear is the lack of popularity and exposure. Even hot searches are better than those without news. How could Lin Jiqiao not know? She was turning around and saying she was feeling burnt, so angry that she couldn't even manage her expression. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Tang Ruan with Poisonous Tongue. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Tang Ruan with Poisonous Tongue. Lin Jiqiao angrily pointed at the person sitting lazily in the chair and said, "Tang Ruan, you. Tang Ruan smiled and pressed down the person's hand, saying, "Don't be angry. Being angry is not good, it not only hurts the body but also easily leads to wrinkles. After all, not everyone is as naturally beautiful as me." Song Qingjiu listened to the words of his own artist, but he was thrusting every sentence into someone else's heart. Who doesn't know, Lin Jiqiao's face can only be considered a small family jade in the entertainment industry, and it's even possible that she can't even be considered a small family jade. Because of this, Lin Jiqiao doesn't know how much money she has spent on her own face. The most annoying thing is that others compare her to Tang Ruan, not to mention that they are still from the same company. Song Qingjiu was afraid that his own family would say something terrible again, so he quickly spoke up and said, Ruan, we will be on stage soon. Let's go prepare for it." Tang Ruan was not prepared to make Song Sake difficult, so he nodded obediently and said, "Okay." Before leaving, he said goodbye to Lin Jiqiao in a particularly friendly manner. After the two of them left, Song Qingjiu said next to her, "I just took a glance before going out, and you made Lin Jiqiao's face turn blue with anger. Didn't you tell me to keep some?" Tang Ruan disagreed and said, "Did we have a conflict?" "That's not true. But if we wait a little longer, it's probably too soon. So, wouldn't it be better if there weren't any conflicts, and wouldn't it be that she came up to find anger on her own? She is such a kind person that she never takes the initiative to cause trouble." Song Qingjiu also knows that this is not the fault of his own artist. Who makes some people always come to suffer for nothing, but, I know it's not your fault, but you also know that she has someone in the company. What if I give you small shoes? Tang Ruan said, "If I don't provoke her, she won't wear it anymore." Without even thinking about it, Song Qingjiu blurted out, "I don't know." That's enough, both sides are meant to be tripped, and she doesn't need to swallow her pride. Besides, she has been in the industry for so long, and is she wearing small shoes less often? The auditorium, everyone who needs to speak has finished speaking, and the following program should also be on. Tang Ruan was wearing a red dress, with the hem swaying as she walked. Her beautiful figure was clearly visible, with a head of black hair draped over her fair shoulders, intertwining black and white to create a striking visual impact. Song Qingjiu looked at the person on the stage from the position and sighed. With this face, no matter where it is placed, it is crushing everywhere. How could it not become popular? Tang Ruan stood on the stage, with a perfectly fitting smile on the corner of his mouth. His jade-like fingers held the microphone, but when he scanned someone sitting in the first row, his smiling eyes instantly cooled down. After only a second of staring at each other, Tang Ruan cast aside his gaze as if nothing had happened. A small interlude did not affect Tang Ruan's performance. She stood there quietly singing, and could focus everyone's attention on her. Tang Ruan, she has never been a vase that only has beauty. Just like a phoenix, even if it is deeply mired in mud and obscured by its radiance, one day, when its wings are full, it will surely crow above the 9 heavens and become a respected existence. At that time, no one will be able to block her own radiance anymore. Tang Ruan left after singing, completely unaware of how much sensation his appearance had caused Jiangda. Almost everyone is talking about her, not to mention that the school forum has been flooded. Zhang's male dormitory. Brother you don't even know what you missed, goddess. Baby, it's just starting to update and hasn't been adjusted yet. Let's start with 2,000 words and add more in a while. So, the votes and comments are going viral, the new book list is trending, end of this chapter.